thank you all for coming. It means a lot to me. I just want to tell you, I just have to say that first of all, it means so much to me that so many artists and friends are here tonight. It means a lot because I'm away so much of the time these days. And so when I'm here to feel this, the depth and the fullness of community, I just can't tell you how much it means to come home and to find you here. Thank you. And I want to thank Women in Their Work, who this organization has been here for me since I arrived. They have co-produced and presented my work time and time again when there was no one else willing to step out on my behalf. And so it's a great organization, and thank you, Chris, for making this happen tonight. Just a few other things. Some of you are familiar enough with my work to know that for me the body is where my research is happening. This is where I don't make pieces about things. The body is where my research happens. And I'm looking at this video, as I'm walking around, I'm thinking, this is research. This, we're looking at just a point of view. This is research that is happening. So, just gonna step around here. Can everybody see this? What it's this is a continuity of continuity. I kind of came up, I don't know when it was sometime in 2013. I came up with this the way of formulating work for me as an artist. And the first step of it was and is a continuity. This is me. I'm the horse. I'm doing the work. And this is the cart that where my research is happening. And everything is kind of in kind of alignment, and it's directional. In other words, I wanted to learn, and I sought learning. There was a kind of continuity in the learning. I wanted to get to be a better dancer, and so I studied with more teachers, and I wanted to know more, more about dancing and taking dance classes and stuff like that. Studied ballet, all of that, very linear kind of achievement-oriented way of approaching my art form. I could even go back to when, as a child, I needed to be picked up and I cried and I would be held, and my mother, I knew that if they heard me, they would pick me up and be held by my parents. Or if I wanted to eat, I would let that be known and I would be fed. I mean, there's a kind of continuity of continuity that keeps shapes all of our lives. We learn it, we behave a certain way, good manners gets us so far, all that stuff, the continuity. And so this is kind of like how I see, even before the study of dancing, there's a kind of continuity of our learning process. It's linear, it's directional, it's balanced in a way. You do the cause and effect. I do this and I have that much information. I have to do this and then this is achieved. The next step for me I call a discontinuity of continuity. And here the cart is real big, And it's not linear, it's not going anywhere necessarily. All directions are possible. It involves risk-taking. It challenging the norm. It involves kind of a questioning process. And it's very important, it seems to me, in all of our, it's very important to, as an artist, as a person, I think, or some of us anyway, to challenge ourselves, in this way, just kind of discontinuity. And I'd love to tell this story of, it's also dangerous. And the danger part, I'll tell you what happened to me, my discontinuity. I'll do anything for the sake of learning from my body. And I thought, well, this was about, I think it was about 8 years ago. I decided to see if I could unlearn an involuntary action. And I decided I would unlearn how to sneeze. Could I unlearn how to sneeze? I didn't tell anybody else I was doing this. After about 2 years, I noticed that, and so in other words, explosions would come out of my body, and spit and snot probably, and a lot of other things. One day I realized every time and this is still true, when I blow my nose, out of the inside corner of my left eye comes air. And it itches the inside of my eyeball like crazy, only on the left side. And I think I blew out a membrane on the inside of my left eye in my process of unlearning how to sneeze. And that's the one thing. I still continued to do it. And then after about another year or so, I was teaching in Brussels, and I hate Brussels. I think it's the dirtiest, darkest, dampest city in the world. And I was in a restaurant, in a hotel the night before coming back from Brussels, and I had a bad cold when I was teaching the day before and those few days leading up to my departure, and I kept sneezing, the how to unlearn sneeze, and I'm eating French onion soup. My jaw locks. I mean, it was terrifying. And I had to go to my room. And the next day on the plane, trying to eat my dinner off of a retractable tray was very difficult. I couldn't do that either. Went to a dentist here in Austin right away to get a bite guard. That's what he said he was going to start doing with the bite guard. And I'm sitting there, and here's this 12-year-old dental assistant who says to me, who puts this thing in my mouth and says, bite? How could that possibly be correct? That's the mold that's taken, this arbitrary bite. And, within weeks, I had this muscle spasm down my neck from biting, with a bite guard that was put in. I knew enough to throw out the bite guard and go to my great massage therapist who's sitting here tonight, who took care of me in a matter of weeks and was able to work that tension out of my body and out of my jaw. So, Janet, thank you. So that's a discontinuity of continuity, just to point out the danger that lies in that. And where I am now in my work, I call a continuity of discontinuity. And the card is just pretty tiny. And this is just, I'm not quite sure how to illustrate the continuity of discontinuity. I kind of think it's something, it's like, it's just sort of every